Trained by day, Kyle Wigginton podcast by night, all day.
What up?
How you doing, man?
Good. Can't complain.
So I guess we'll just jump right in this because one of the first things that we were talking about just a few minutes ago was the Super Bowl, and it's kind of, I think this podcast today is going to be a lot about government and maybe some of the corruption that's in government and things that people aren't seeing and are seeing. So the first thing I was talking about was the Super Bowl, and one of the things we did, I don't know if you know all this, but local government, they wanted to remove the homeless people for the Super Bowl. And they basically took 170 homeless people and they put them in a warehouse somewhere in the city. I'm not sure where the actual warehouse was. And you know how much they spent on this? $16.5 million housing 170 homeless people for 2 months.
Just to hide them.
Just to hide them away.
Yeah.
And like, it doesn't take 16 million to hide someone away. Like,
Right.
How many people do you think pocketed money on this deal?
No idea.
So that's one of my biggest things about like what's going on in the government right now, and what I see with the Doge stuff is all these programs that they're canceling. It seems like these programs were just ways to put money in people's pockets, that they weren't actually doing anything that's beneficial for society.
So which ones in particular? Which programs specifically?
Well, so who actually knows what they're finding? I see all this shit on Instagram and stuff because I don't look into it that much. But like there was a pillow fluffing program or some shit like that, which could have been fake. All these DEI programs that are for like other countries, like trying to push our ideals in other countries. I think all those they shouldn't be happening. And we're spending millions of dollars on this every year when we could be taking care of our own citizens.
Yeah. So with me, I'm very data driven. So I'd have to see, are we factually finding those things, or is Fox News presenting stories that we're finding these things?
Well, so a lot of the stuff that I'm getting is based on AI. I'll talk to AI for hours now.
Right.
And we'll talk about the data points on this stuff. So, I mean, I don't recall the data, but I'm asking AI these things. So, I mean, if AI is finding the correct data, then I'm assuming that's right.
Okay. So speaking on, because you wanted to know like a perspective on the other side of things.
Yeah.
So I'm a liberal. So my views are the government should be used to benefit and overall lift up the well-being and livelihood of citizens in a country, which is a pretty new concept because for most of human history, government was really sort of there to kind of keep people down or to control people or to enrich like a single family. And so this idea that government should be primarily a tool that provides like civil service, and that our taxes are kind of paid back to us through things like healthcare, even DEI, which we can get into because I don't think that's a bad thing. Education, defense, infrastructure. I'm a big fan of that. And so my take on the Doge thing right now is probably completely the opposite. I see it as a means of them dismantling the civil servitude aspect of government to kind of like acquire the assets themselves. And by themselves, I'm referring to like the owner class, the oligarchs, who the present administration seems primarily made up of.
So you're saying when they're cutting these programs, they're going to take the money and do whatever they want with it?
Yes. So they're cutting them because they want to have a $4 trillion tax break for the top 1%. The top 1% is now fully represented in this administration, in this cabinet, in this brave new world we're heading into. A case in point right here, when they were auditing all of the spending of where most of these government contracts and spending was going to, the number one benefactor was Tesla. So Musk did this audit, did this investigation, was like, oops, it was me. And I think the idea of Doge is inherently corrupt. And I do think it's a way for them to, again, when I say them, it's mostly going to be referring to the owner class in a lot of the things we're going to talk about today. I think it's a way for them to dismantle these safeguards and these regulations that prevent them from being even richer and from kind of calling the shots over their own, what they have stake in. You know, you have Elon Musk, who he is what is it? SpaceX, right? That's
Mhm.
his thing. Who's the number one competitor of SpaceX?
Was it NASA?
Yeah. So if I'm owning SpaceX and I want to have the monopoly on the commercialization or privatization of space travel, whatever you want to call it, but I need to knock out NASA, what's the path of least resistance that I would do that? I would find a way to hold the purse strings of government, to cut funding to NASA and make SpaceX the thing. And you can kind of apply that principle to a lot of the things that Doge is doing right now.
Let me give you a little pushback on that though, because look at the advancements that SpaceX has made where NASA has done practically nothing.
Why has NASA? Well, first let's qualify what is nothing. And if
they haven't figured out how to catch rockets.
Mhm.
They haven't made reusable rockets like Musk has. I mean, they're making crazy advancements. So why not give them money? Why not give them tax breaks?
Yeah. So, well, that's two different things. With NASA, for one thing, we gotta keep in mind they've been brutally defunded, pretty much since Bush Jr. And Obama. NASA has been totally defunded. They're
not doing anything.
So, my uncle, I have an uncle who he's retired now. He worked for NASA.
Mhm.
He was a director over the propulsion systems.
Okay.
So he oversaw just the part of NASA that designs like propulsion. And I remember a few years ago, I asked him, I was like, so what is NASA doing? Like, what are you guys doing? We're touring the facility. You know, we're in NASA. We're going through mission control and all that.
Just like the one around
Houston.
here?
Well, no, the one in Houston. Yeah.
Okay.
And, we go to the pool where they train the astronauts about zero gravity. It's pretty cool. But I was asking him, what is NASA up to? He's like, just research right now. We're not focusing on going to other planets. We're not focusing on. He was like, the number one thing we're trying to do is figure out how to grow vegetables on the space station. So I think NASA's priorities shifted. I also asked him, I was like, how come we don't go back to the moon? He was like, it'd be a waste of money. There's nothing else to do there other than like a photo op, which a legitimate scientific agency is not going to prioritize any sort of mission or research or budgeting just to go do a photo op.
Right.
SpaceX might. But anyway, so long-winded way of saying, to your point, there's advantages to the privatization of space. They can design these rockets that catch themselves. I think that's awesome. I think that's really cool. I think it's cool that he's trying to go to Mars. But it can also be true that it's a form of corruption for an oligarch to essentially buy an election to then get handed this level of power that is outside the constitutional, and we're going to get into that too. It is outside what is constitutionally allowed or okay.
So I'll give you that one. Yeah. I think that's pretty crazy that he spent money on this election, and then he basically bought a seat.
Yes.
But at the same time, it's like, who else is stepping up to the plate?
Which plate?
Like the plate of where Elon Musk is right now, he's not even doing the work right. He's hired it's like 5 20-year-olds to program these things.
Yeah, it's like 19 and 20-year-olds.
So it's not even him really.
And they're going through your data too. So right now they're in the U.S. Treasury. Some of them have ties to Russia. Some of them have ties to other foreign adversaries. They're hackers. Some of them have been implicated in big crimes related to cybersecurity. And they're 19, 20, 21 years old, and he has them in the treasury right now going through your data, through my data.
You're saying that's a bad thing.
Yes.
I love that.
Tell me the advantage. Tell me the positives.
So some of the most brilliant people I've ever met in my life don't work inside of the system.
Okay.
They're hackers essentially. And it's just because they think outside of the box. And I think that's what we need right now to actually cure the box that is government.
What are we curing? What's the box?
The amount of corruption that's in there.
Okay.
And we're talking about the money that's going out. The $16 million that was spent on, or the $20 million that was spent on stringing lights on this fucking bridge here in New Orleans. Like that, people pocketed money on that deal.
Yeah.
A lot of it. 16 million housing homeless people, 170 homeless people for 2 months. There's money just going crazy, and we have people that are living on the streets.
Right.
Like that's corruption at a level that most people can't even perceive. So having these kids come in that can think outside of the box to actually solve these problems are what we need.
I think that's sane washing. I think that's a form of sane washing. It's normalizing something that is extremely not normal and insane.
Our society's not normal right now.
I'll give you that one. But to your other point about you were talking about like, the money we send out. Sometimes there's things that benefit U.S. citizens as an aspect of that. So I'll give an example. The USAID, right? So Trump just defunded, cut off, ended USAID. Something that goes back quite a ways. In fact, JFK.
So what is USAID? If you can explain that for other people.
Yeah, I mean, it's just organizationally, it's us sending things to help other countries is the simplest way to explain it. One example, and to go back to my point of how it can still help U.S. citizens, one aspect of USAID is we had this contract where we send crops to Africa, right? Just to feed Africans. It costs us a lot of money. But the thing that isn't getting covered is the farmers that grow those crops they're U.S. farmers. They're growing crops in Kansas, Nebraska, wherever, and they're getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
Their entire livelihood is because they're producing crops to send to these other countries. So now all those farmers, many of which voted for Trump, they're left ass out. They're like, wait, what the hell? Like, I don't have a contract anymore. What am I going to do? And not to tangent too far, but this goes back to why I think what's happening right now is so extremely corrupt. It just trumps all other corruption you could possibly identify. Is what ends up happening naturally is they lose the farm, and then who comes in and buys the farm? It's going to be a corporation, and it's probably going to be a corporation directly related to this owner class that
kind of private equity firm or something
like that, going to come buy the farm. And you can kind of run it all the way back. They're talking about trying to eliminate taxes on tips. Well, that sounds cool, right? Until you consider the fact, what are they going to call a tip now? It's a way to not raise wages. You can just say everything's a tip. It's also a way to collect that. We get billions of trillions of dollars, maybe. I don't know the actual data, but we get a lot of money from taxes, right? If they end taxes on tips, where are they going to get that revenue? Maybe property taxes. So maybe Americans can't afford houses now. So who comes in and buys all the real estate? Private equity firms, corporations. And so then all Americans are having to rent. Who determines the cost of rent? The same people. So what I'm saying is what we're looking at, and the way that people on my side view it, is we're basically looking at a full collapse of liberty in substitution for this oligarchical framework where they're just going to lock in that labor, maximize that revenue, that profit margin, and essentially turn us back into a feudalistic society. And that sounds crazy, but I could go through all these examples and point it out. And so that is going full circle back to when we were off camera. That's why I see what's happening as like really scary and dangerous.
Why would he cut the USAID stuff? Like, what is it in USAID that he is looking at? I mean, it can't just be the food thing.
So it just goes back to they're looking for $4 trillion in additional tax cuts that they can give the top 1%. And the only places they can take it from is those humanitarian things.
But what else in USAID did they cut out? Because I mean, I think this is one of the things I was looking at where they were cutting out all the DEI programs that we're doing for other countries,
right?
Which have no, in my opinion, we have no merit in pushing our ideas in other countries.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I agree. I think the American brand of imperialism that we kind of have been imposing on other countries really since the late 1800s, early 1900s, I agree it needs to go away. I think both sides of the aisle share that.
Yeah. Well, you did that like I'm on the other side of the aisle.
No, I'm not saying it like that.
I'm totally independent from either one of the parties.
Right. And yeah. I am too. I don't identify. I vote Democrat, or the technical term is I caucus with the Democrats.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing else that fits that can have mainstream representation right now. I am independent. But back to the topic of like DEI. So what does DEI mean? Right? Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that, just as it stands, on the concept of DEI?
I think that initially it was a good idea, but I think that now we've kind of spun it out of control where a company won't just hire someone for what they can do for the company, like the best employees. Now they're hiring people just to have a black person in the office or a gay person in the office. I think it's been spun out of control.
Okay. Where is the evidence for that? And I'm not trying to put you in any sort of position like this is your view.
Well, this is not the evidence for me because I run a business like this.
Yeah.
Where we're pretty much DEI all the way.
Okay.
And that's has nothing to do with me hiring for those reasons.
Right.
It just has me to do with like that. Those are the best people for the job at the time.
Right. So okay. So
I think big corporations and colleges are the ones that are seeing the most of this. There's a little knob on the side if you need to twist it.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that, and I get this from podcasts.
Gotcha.
So a lot of the podcasts that I hear, they're basically talking about how I was just listening to one before you walked in. There was a guy, I forgot his name, but he was talking about how the college campus that he worked at in the 70s, maybe, I don't know what the year he was saying, but he said there was only 12 professors that were African American in like the top somewhat universities. And he said now it's like 50% of the kids that come in are identify as non-white.
Right.
So he said that actually brought more people in, but you know, he was kind of arguing against it too now.
What I think it is, I think it's a form of white lash. I
explain that.
So white lash is the concept that there is a portion of the white electorate who feels like they are victimized and they are wronged by the fact that demographics are changing. The 2016 election is viewed as a form of white lash, right, against Obama. God forbid we had a black president. Time to get even. You know, when it comes to DEI, I think it's a continuation of the American experiment. So in the Declaration of Independence, we identified there's these inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We still haven't even gotten there. You know, we're 200 and some odd years in, and we're not even there. So that's, again, a very liberal viewpoint is we're not done. We haven't actually even fulfilled the promise of the city on the shining hill. And so DEI is a way, it's not that we give people an opportunity ahead of white people, even if they're not qualified. It's if you are qualified and happen to be non-white, you won't be disqualified for not being white. So what I mean is if, so I'm a director over a healthcare facility. If I have two applicants and they have the exact same qualifications, same licensure, same education, same work experience, one is white and one is black, right? I'm not going to pick the black person just because they're black. I'm going to interview each, and whoever presents more strongly, I'm going to pick. And if they happen to be black, it's a good thing I can do that because of DEI. Whereas in the past, maybe my board of directors or someone would pressure me strongly to pick the white person. And so that's all DEI is. It's protection.
But that didn't sound like it's anything then.
Yeah. So yes.
But I disagree with that.
Okay.
I think that's exactly like we wouldn't even need that DEI if that was a thing.
But it is a thing because there's still systemic inequality. There's still systemic racism.
But I'm saying all you said is I interview the people that are best for the job and I hire the best one.
Right.
You didn't say anything about their race.
Correct. So
but that's not DEI then. DEI looks at race and I think gender, right?
I think it's a messaging thing. I think there's a portion of media, or you're talking about podcasts, which I think is an extension of media. I think it is a propaganda thing to say that DEI is somehow an attack on white people. I don't. I think it's such a subtle. It is simply the viewpoint.
I didn't say it was an attack on white people. I think it's an attack on everyone. Right. So whites and Asians and whoever else is getting excluded in the DEI stuff.
Yeah.
Whoever we think the underdog is, that's who's who's getting the help for DEI.
But it's almost like to prove that case, not saying you would, but if there was someone who really wanted to push that case, if under scrutiny, if you were to follow it to its logical conclusion, like you keep asking them questions, okay, what doesn't qualify that person? Okay, why is the white person more qualified? You're going to get down to the root of it, which is that they just think a white person, it's going to get down to some white victimhood shit almost every time. I'm willing to die on that hill. I just don't see a better explanation for it. Again, a liberal perspective. When we hear from the right wing side of things that DEI is this like horrible thing, we're genuinely confused. We're like, what? Like how? Like we're giving people equitable chances. If a white person didn't get that position, it's because they weren't qualified. Like they probably weren't qualified. But we have there's this again, white lash in the country right now. White mediocrity is still viewed as superiority over more qualified non-white or intersectional people, and that's just my views. I think DEI is no different from how we gave women the right to vote, how we gave slaves their freedom and enfranchised them as voters, the Americans with Disability Act. I think DEI, again, it's a continuation of the American experiment, which is to say life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness should be equitable. Everybody should have access. Even with the transsexual discrimination, I think that's weird. Like, let them be. If somebody is existing as trans, they're not harming you. They're not.
What about the children? The trans thing with children.
I think a lot of that is propaganda. Like, there's no,
it's real.
There's not documented cases of parents taking their kids in for sex change. Like, that's not happening. That's not happening. If it's happened like once, and hopefully those parents went to prison.
Right. So the propaganda is an issue then, yeah.
Yeah, and so this gets really down to a big thing I wanted to talk about today, which is like the myth of conservatism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, explain that, please.
The myth of conservatism. Perfect. So I'll start with this. My position is right-wing media has concocted an alternate reality, like an ecosphere of just completely made up shit. So, okay, the myth of conservatism. You tell me, what are some qualities when you hear someone's conservative? What are the things that they allegedly believe in?
I think they believe in saving money.
Okay, wait, let's pause right there. Okay, saving money. Do you know under which presidents, Democratic or Republican, which presidents spend the most money?
No.
Republican presidents.
Okay.
Do you know under which president GDP growth is the highest, Democrats or Republicans?
I'm guessing you're going to say Democrats.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't know this for a fact, so I need a young.
I know. We need like a fact checker because
I need to program an AI just to like sit here and go through the facts.
Well, check it out. Hop on Google and just Google under.
I have GPT, bro.
So look up: does GDP grow more under Democratic presidents or Republican presidents?
Okay. What was the first one you said too?
Oh gosh, what was it? Who spends more? So I'll tell you. In Trump's first administration, he spent more than Obama.
What was he spending it on?
Bush Jr. Just probably the tax cuts, because when you cut taxes for the top 1%, you're not taking money back in, so you're spending out of a deficit.
Historically, GDP has grown at a higher average rate under Democratic presidents compared to Republican presidents.
Correct.
4.0 under Democratic presidents compared to about 2.5 under Republican.
Yep.
Okay, and who spends more?
Who spends more, Republicans or Democrats? Looks like there's like a bachelorette party outside over there.
Yeah, there is, dude. They've been up there. They're staying upstairs this weekend.
Partying.
Party. Historically, government spending tends to increase under both Democratic and Republican administrations, but the reasons and allocations of spending often differ.
Mm-hmm.
Republican presidents have generally overseen larger increases in total federal spending than Democrats. Democratic presidents tend to spend more on social programs.
Yeah.
But are the social programs adequate, is what we're saying about the DEI bullshit.
Sure.
A common perception is that Democrats are big spenders, but in reality, okay, so I'm guessing they're saying that the Republicans are the higher spending.
Correct.
Republicans spending on defense, law enforcement, and corporate tax cuts.
Corporate tax cuts.
Yeah.
Yep.
Democrats higher spending on healthcare, education, and social safety social programs for safety nets.
Cool stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So with that said, I think that, okay. And I was having a conversation yesterday with a guy in the bar. And he was basically saying that there's a lot more receipts whenever you're spending on things like bombs or weapons, whatever they're doing, defense spending.
Yeah.
Whenever you're doing these social programs, that's where all the money just kind of like gets funneled into people's pockets because there are less receipts. You're just basically saying, here's an 801c3 company. We're going to donate $10 million to them. Go do something great.
I can give you that one while also requalifying it. Sure. If I am saying I'm giving $10 million to Medicaid, maybe, I don't know. Did they spend it on more funding for, I don't know, behavioral health organizations? Did they spend it on, what is it? The women's health stuff. What is that called? Like Planned Parenthood? I don't know. Whatever. Yeah. So maybe we sent 10 million to Medicaid, but we don't know how that really broke down. Whereas if I spend 10 million on bombs, we can look at the news and see, Yemen got smoked. A bunch of women and children got killed. So I can give you that point. But the myth of conservatism, right? So that's one right there. Republican administrations spend more. Another one. What's another belief conservatives claim to champion?
Dude, I have no idea. I don't even do politics that much. I'm here just arguing with you. Just for the hell of it.
And I love it. My hope is to like this one person hears this and they're just like, whoa. Okay. Freedom of speech, right? Okay. So the other day, Trump kicked out and banned indefinitely the Associated Press because they called it the Gulf of Mexico still.
Okay.
Which, by the way, it's still the Gulf of Mexico.
But were they doing it just to be assholes?
No, because it's the Gulf of Mexico.
Okay.
It's literally still the Gulf of Mexico internationally. So they were referring.
You get what I'm saying though? Like if they show up at a press conference and just do it just to like try to piss him off.
Well, I'll challenge that too. If you were to try to piss off the president, is it still presidential behavior to throw a tantrum and say you're banned from you can never come back in my Oval Office?
It is pretty childish, but I didn't see it, so I don't know what actually happened. The guy could have pressed the situation.
But that's like one example. The freedom of speech. Also, they like to go into the "don't tread on me" stuff. That's a very conservative thing. Don't tread on me. Mm-hmm. Dude, you want trans people to not exist. Like them just existing is an attack on you.
Well, trans people should adopt the "don't tread on me" then. That way no one else would use it.
Oh, where I really want to swing this podcast today is, hey, if you're liberal, progressive, or marginalized, please get a gun and learn how to use it. We need to be the "don't tread on me" motherfuckers in this thing. So the whole "don't tread on me," but hey, if you're not Christian, we're gonna forcibly use the law to put our 10 commandments in your public school, and the whole thing, the myth of conservatism.
Okay.
What really is conservatism? It is a tool used by the owner class to get middle America to vote against their own self-interest. So like thought experiment. You're one of the richest people in the world, like right now. And so you need policies passed that benefit you, that keep you rich, that help you, the things that benefit you. Maybe you need less regulations because you run an oil plant. I don't know. How do you get ordinary people, of which there are hundreds of millions, to vote in your favor when your policies hurt them? How do you do it?
We manipulate them.
Yes. So there's this thing called manufactured consent. If I'm a billionaire and I want to manipulate middle America to vote for big tax cuts for me, how do I get them to do that?
But let's think about this though. Why would you get tax cuts? Do you think all billionaires just want to get richer, or do you think they're actually trying to do something to help people?
Some of them I do think have those kind of egalitarian. I mean, Bill Gates, he's one. I think he donates to charity like all the time. I think by and large, if you are a billionaire or even a high-end millionaire, you already have a drive and motivation to keep getting wealthier.
More.
Yes.
Dude, that sounds like a mental illness to me.
There's something to it, dude. I think we can all fall victim to it. I've started making a little more money. And I'm victim to it too. Mm-hmm. I always am trying to plot on how to make more money. Like, how do I go from being a director here, making this much to, you know what I'm saying? Like,
so could you see yourself going down this evil path?
I love that question because it puts front and center this moral issue of, we'd have to ask, what is evil, right? And that could be a whole other podcast. Could I see myself going down a path of continuing to self-serve in a way that, as far as I know, is benefiting me and my family? Absolutely. And if that means I need to get more wealth and find a way to protect that wealth and find a way to influence the government so that they're passing things that favor me in doing so, I'm going to do it because I'm human. And so I think
so let's look at it this way. How do we keep people like you out of politics?
I have no interest in going into politics.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, how do you filter those type of people out of politics so that we don't have that selfish interest there?
Well, education, having an informed electorate, which we don't. 60% of the country only can read above, I think, like a 6th grade reading level.
That's fucking wild.
Is that
dude.
insane?
Yeah.
In fact, I remember during the election, I was looking at like pictures.
What? Like, how are they even voting?
Dude, that's another thing. I think there should be qualifications to vote. That's a whole other topic. That would get into where I'm a bad liberal. Like I'm going more into that like authoritarian realm, but on the left. But I'm not going to get into that.
But it also poses that everyone has these ideas. Even if
Yes.
you're the most liberal person in the world,
Yep.
you have some other ideas from the other sides.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone's on a spectrum. I'm pretty conservative, dude. I'm a big fan of free market capitalism. It doesn't exist. We don't have it, right? We have socialism for the rich, where they do this thing I'm saying, where they find a way to consolidate mass consensus to push these things that benefit them. They get all these tax cuts, but like, you know, the old grandma who needs insulin, fuck her, right?
Yeah.
Right. She dies. The single mom, fuck her. Her and her kids die. They take the Medicaid, take the Social Security. I need to get richer. But to your point,
Sorry, I keep bouncing around.
no, dude, because like I said, I could fill hours with this stuff. So where was I going with that? Yeah, we all have these ideas. I'm into free market capitalism. We don't have it. At the same time, I'm very progressive in terms of like civil stuff, like civics. I think there should be a popular vote only, no electoral college.
Okay.
Which is a remnant from the South back in when we were colonies. The South made Africans only worth 3/5 of a vote. So they're like, oh, we're never going to win elections. And so we gave them the electoral college. Your land is equal to the 1 million people living in New York. Congrats. Anyway, I think we should have popular vote only. Every election should come down to a popular vote. And if your idea didn't win, it wasn't supposed to.
I like that.
Yeah. So that's a very liberal idea. I think there should be universal health care. Every other Western democratized nation does it. Why can't we?
I like that.
Yeah. And the reason we can't, well, we can, but again, propaganda, that right-wing bubble pushing things like it means that we're communist or you wait in line forever. That's none of that is true. In fact, my facility is primarily Medicaid.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, we do shit way better than the mom and pop private boutique shit. Anyway, yes, I think a lot of us have a good mix of views from both sides, and we have to be informed to know what views are based on objective reality and fact, right? And what is based on, somebody on Fox News told me, that trans people are trying to take my guns and whatever. They're going to make me gay too. I don't know.
Right.
There's
a lot of that, man. It's so interesting to have a conversation with you, and then I have several groups of friends that we're in group text messages with, and just seeing, I guess, how the propaganda targets different people.
Yep.
And you get in these like echo chambers of like hearing your own ideas, and that's all you think that like is going on. And it's like, no, if you actually walk outside and look around, you can see that the world's not that bad of a place. But then some areas, so this brings up another point is with the homeless people again.
Yes.
I was having a conversation with this guy's hardcore Republican the other night.
Nice.
Yeah, and we were talking about this, and he's like, I said, dude, if we have an empty house and we have homeless people, doesn't it make sense to merge the two together? He's like, it's not that simple.
Why?
That's what I said.
Why? Why is it not that simple?
Why is it not that simple? He's like, well, the person that owns the house and the person that owns the land and all this stuff, and where's the money going? And I'm like, we spent $16 million on housing 170. You could put some of that money into buying these houses or even building little tiny homes,
right? Putting
them in little communities, giving them $20,000 to start off with, and giving them a job washing dishes. Boom! Now they have a start. And he's like, well, it's just not that simple. That's all I could say.
Yeah.
And
because he has to go back to check the notes. He has to be like, what is Fox News saying that I have to believe here? And that goes back to the manufactured consent part. If I am so aligned with a party or a set of ideals, I am going to always find a way, no matter what corner I'm backed into, to stand by them.
Yeah.
Case in point, MAGA. I mean, we're watching, and you may not agree, we're watching, I believe, and I think it is objectively evident. Historians agree, economists agree, everyone who is informed agrees we're staring down the barrel of authoritarianism right now. That's just a fact. I'm happy to qualify that fact, and I will debate anybody about it. With that being said, you have MAGA right now who, what are they doing? They're like, I don't hear it. I don't see it. Bury my head in the sand or whatever. Hillary's emails. Here's Hunter Biden's dick. I don't know.
Well, how do you feel that he's that we're going to authoritarianism?
Because so there's a series of checks and balances that our government is based on.
Right.
Obviously, we all know this. So you have the legislative branch, which is Congress, the judiciary branch, which includes the Supreme Court, but is also the various federal judges and appellate courts all around the country. And then you have the executive branch, which is the president, vice president, and like their staff who like live in the White House and work with them. So the way it's supposed to work is if a federal judge tells you that the thing you're doing is unconstitutional, you need to stand down. Well, if the president refuses to stand down, you then have the Department of Justice, who becomes your kind of arm to then force the president to stand down, or you have Congress, who can also check the president. What if you have a president who fires everybody in the Department of Justice, in the FBI, in the CIA, who are not sworn allegiance to him? What if you have a president who shuts down all the civil service branches, agencies, shuts them down unless you're a loyalist to him, fires all the generals unless you're a loyalist to him, and then ignores the judge's orders? You find yourself in a constitutional crisis, which is where we're at right now. The White House press secretary went in front of cameras a few days ago and it was on Fox News, and she tried telling whoever's watching Fox News that the judges are triggering a constitutional crisis by defying Trump. That's lying. That's gaslighting. That is not what the Constitution says. But right now, about 50% of the country probably believes that. And so they're going to green light the power grab to continue. You also have Elon Musk. He's an unelected official. We didn't vote for him. He was placed in this made up role so he can do these unconstitutional things. Congress, the Constitution says Congress alone controls the purse strings of government. They decide where spending goes, what spending is cut. Right now, Elon Musk, a billionaire with an immediate red flag conflict of interest just right there off the jump, he's doing that. And Congress can't stop him because they are majority Republican. So the DOJ is all of Trump's people. So the federal judges have no teeth. You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah, I see where you're going with this.
And that's all objectively true. None of that is like speculation.
I'll tell you the way it's been explained to me is that they're just trying to eliminate some of the inflation that government's become.
Okay.
So they're basically trying to, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for here?
So who's left? Who remains if you eliminate?
I guess Congress, a president, and then the judicial system, the Supreme Court.
So what if you have a president who's continuing to act outside the bounds of the Constitution unlawfully, and Congress won't stand up to him because it's only his loyalists who remain?
But is he acting out?
Yes.
I feel like he's doing what the American people want right now. And even with Elon Musk attached himself to the president early on in the president's run.
Right.
So people knew what they were voting for.
Right. But they also didn't, right? We can go back to those farmers who are now losing their jobs. We can go back to the low-income white voters who are losing their Medicaid and Social Security. You don't
think that's temporary?
No.
You don't think they'll bring those things back?
No. I think we're literally looking at a reset it's going to be it's going to be the billionaire class at the top running the government, deciding the regulations against themselves, deciding the legal ramifications against themselves. It's pretty serious.
Well, here's what I'll say. I'll say what is different from what was going on, because I feel like all the people in Congress are millionaires.
Not all of them.
Okay, maybe like 1% isn't a millionaire.
A percentage, yeah, for sure.
2% is not millionaires.
They make like $200,000 a year.
They make $200,000 a year, but they're all millionaires.
If you save your money and then invest wisely, write a few books, of course, yeah. For sure.
But so it's the same thing that was happening. They're just millionaires instead of billionaires.
But it's not the same thing. You didn't have, let's use Biden. Was Biden kicking people out of the Oval Office because they were saying the wrong thing?
Let's be real. Biden was barely standing.
Sure. But he wasn't running
anything. He wasn't running anything. There was other people running it for him.
And the same might be true for Trump, right? He might be a stand-in for these billionaires who are trying to set a new world order where they are on top. And we are almost like feudalistically bound. Going back to, okay, what are the things Trump's doing that are unlawful? Well, he made that executive order trying to end birthright citizenship. That is that's the opening clause of the 14th Amendment.
Birthright citizenship. So like if you're born here, you're a citizen.
Correct.
Okay.
That is a defining attribute of the 14th Amendment. which Lincoln, the Republicans like to say they're the party of Lincoln.
Why would he end that?
Well, that goes back to that. That's him pandering to his voter base, right? They think there's an invasion on the southern border.
But if you're born here,
I don't know. Why would he end that? That's a good question, right?
yeah.
Why would he want to end that? Yeah, I don't know. It's also unconstitutional. So the federal judges told him he can't do that. And then you have JD Vance saying on Twitter or whatever the fuck it's called now, the president can defy federal judges. That's not true. But you have an uninformed electorate who don't know that's not true. And so they're going to keep saying more and more and more, not knowing we're sleepwalking into an autocracy.
But I mean, are there caveats to that? Like, was it saying that if a pregnant woman flies over here and has a kid immediately, that she can't be, the kid doesn't stay here and
Correct.
the caretaker doesn't stay here too?
It's just birthright citizenship is ended, DACA, all that.
So like, let's break that down though.
Yeah.
Because I had a buddy that was, he's from Ecuador, loved the guy to death, but he was going to fly his wife over here.
Yeah. Just
as
to give
she's
birth.
pregnant, just so she could give birth so that one of her kids could,
Yep.
And I think, and when that happens, the caretaker has to stay too, right?
I don't know that part. But I do know the premise of what you're saying is true. Based on the 14th Amendment, if you're going to give birth in 2 minutes and you're on the border of Mexico and America, you can cross that line, give birth, and your kid is a U.S. citizen. There was big reasons why we made that an amendment, or it was part of an amendment. The 14th Amendment covers a lot of stuff, but that's one of the things it covers. The other thing this is what's even funnier. Another part of the 14th Amendment says that anyone who's held office who fomented like an insurrection may never hold office again, right?
You don't think that's propaganda though? Because I know all this, that he mounted this insurrection, the January 6th thing.
I think he did.
How?
Okay. Why were those people there that day?
I don't know.
The people who gathered.
They were angry.
What were they angry about?
The government, Congress.
No. What did he tell them happened?
Well, we can't just blame one person for everything that's going on.
He told them the election was stolen.
Okay.
And he was having a rally called Stop the Steal. Everyone who was present, who would then take part in January 6th, was only there for one thing, because they went there to stop the steal. And he told them the election was stolen. That went before 60 different courts in various states. No, it was evidentiary, based on evidence thrown out in all 60 cases. The 2020 election was not stolen. Trump lost. He told people it was stolen. They went and gathered there with one goal, which was stop the steal. Whether that was to attack the Capitol or not, who knows? But then he has them all riled up. He says, you got to fight like hell or you won't have a country. All lies. I mean, he's lying. He lost the election, but he's doing what he does. He's very good at this. He's very good at manipulation, mass manipulation. The people who broke away that would then go on to curb stomp police officers and pepper spray them and break the windows out of the Capitol, they went there after the speech he gave. So it's like how a mob boss can be tried for a murder under a RICO investigation. A mob boss didn't tell the guy, go kill the guy. He just says something needs to happen with this guy. He still can go to prison for life. That is what Trump did. And that's why he was being tried as such, like under a RICO investigation, essentially.
Dude, the whole January 6th thing was just fucking weird anyway. There was, that one person that got shot or whatever.
Yeah. Like, Ashley Babbitt. Fuck her.
But I mean, like, how has there never been... There's no video footage of this.
Yeah, there is.
The video footage of the guy who's shooting her is off camera, though.
No.
How did we not see that?
No, I've seen it. We could probably look it up, too. She's crawling through... They're at the door.
Yeah, it's like a barrier
of
there,
Congress.
Right?
Yeah, and the guy, the officer, the soldier, whatever the fuck he is, Capitol Police, he has a gun, and he's saying, stand back. Because at that point, you are now a terrorist. Okay? You're officially a terrorist. So she made a choice to... She tries to crawl through a window and you see him blast her and you can see the whole thing. The camera's behind her back.
Why do you think that person's a terrorist at that point?
They're attacking the U.S. government. They were attacking the congregation of the People's House.
Why were they were attacking? Because they were mad at something.
Because Trump told them the election was stolen.
But you can't just put this on one person is what I'm telling you. Like there are other things that people get angry about.
So who do we put it on?
I put it on the person that did the crime.
Okay, so they did. They all went to prison. Trump just freed them. One of them then went.
But I'm not saying, I'm not even thinking that's a crime.
Right.
I don't think it's a crime. I think that we should be able to go to the Capitol if we want to and talk to our politicians.
Talk to them, but going in with smearing shit on the walls.
Well, how else are you going to get in?
Flying.
They have police. They have police all around that place that are barricading the doors, and the politicians are in the bunkers, like hiding from people.
Well, the politicians,
if politicians are running away from the people that they're representing, that's a problem.
Because the people had nooses and they were saying hang Mike Pence, and they had Confederate flags.
So hey, let's sit down and talk to the people before we get to this level. Like the problem is they're so far separated from the reality of what the people want right now.
You're exactly right.
And it's not just Trump, it's everyone up there.
Right.
So it's the congressmen, everything.
But what if those people were not placed in that reality? What if they were told Trump lost the election? That's it. He lost. They would have no need to be there. They wouldn't be that angry. A lot of this goes back to that propaganda. And look, Democrats do it too. Democrats, it's not to the same extent, but they do. They lie. They hid Biden's mental condition. As a Democratic voter who voted for Biden, I was upset about that, dude. I was pissed when they had that debate, Biden and Trump, and I saw immediately that I was angry. I was like, you motherfuckers just cost us democracy, because I now see where this is going to go, because you couldn't fucking swallow your pride and put another candidate up.
Speaking of the popular vote.
Yeah.
Did he win the popular vote this year?
Yes.
Okay.
He did.
So does that affect you at all?
No.
Okay.
No.
So you think that the right person's in the job?
No.
But you said earlier though that if the popular vote voted for it, then that's obviously what should be.
Yeah, I do stand by that. I do agree with that. Again, it goes back to the manufactured consent. You had people not even aware of how things work.
Okay, so you just think that people aren't aware of...
Correct. It comes back to informed, non-informed voters. More people sat out the election than voted. And then you had the Democratic voters who sat out because of Gaza, which is dumb, because now Trump says he's going to completely raise Gaza to the ground and make it a fucking theme park. What is he doing? I don't know.
I do have one of the videos that I have for you to watch. Is Trump talking about cutting the military budget? Mm-hmm. Have you seen this video?
No.
So he's saying that he wants to have a meeting with Russia and China, the other big players in the system. Yeah. And he wants us all to cut our military budgets down. And he said he wants to cut our military budget by half.
Okay.
Which I think it's $1 trillion or something right now.
I have no idea.
Okay. So I think
know what it is.
Yeah, I think they're trying to get rid of the government spending aspect is what they're trying to do.
And then you always got to ask why, right?
Why is because we're like inflating the US dollar by so much from spending in a deficit every year, right? Are we not?
Yeah, we're spending in a deficit all the time. But for me, that's your why. And that might be my why. But what is Trump's why? It's to make more money, dude.
It's a good point. Yeah, like what are these guys trying to do?
Yeah, why does the US president want to cut defense? I'm a liberal and I still think we should keep our defense fucking banging, dude. We need to, especially with Russia now coming into more play because he's surrendering to Putin, right? We're pulling out of Ukraine. You think Putin's not going to try to then go into fucking, what is it? What's next? Czechoslovakia, Poland? I don't fucking know, dude. I'm behind on my
geography.
Yeah,
me too.
You think Putin's going to stop there?
That's a good point. Yeah, Trump's whole thing with the cutting the military budget is talking about nuclear weapons. Really, he's like, "What are we still making nuclear weapons for? We have enough weapons that we can blow the entire planet up 50 times over."
Yeah.
So he's like, "Why are we still doing this? It makes no sense." How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I feel the stockpiling of nuclear weapons is asinine. All you need is one.
Yeah.
All you need is one. You drop it on whatever country's capital, it's over.
Yeah, they're just like, okay.
They're in the Stone Age. So I agree with that. But I am very suspicious of his motives with everything.
So you think that he's trying to convince the other countries to cut their budgets, but he's not actually going to cut ours?
Not even
going in black budget projects?
Not even that. That would actually be legit. That would be like some Obama type stuff. That would be like how Obama does things. The sort of gaslighting and getting the other person to... That's not how Trump does things. How Trump does things is, let's just cut the budget and I'm going to make a new discretionary allocation of that income. And it's going to go to like offshore fucking shell companies that are really just his. And
but like, why? He's got everything. Why does he need more? That's kind of how I feel about like him even running for the presidency. It's like, bro, just go retire on an island somewhere.
Well, he couldn't. He was facing life in prison. He ran to stay out of prison
because of the 36 whatever.
It was like 41 indictments or something.
Yeah, but isn't that weird too?
No, He committed crimes, dude. He committed those fucking
Okay,
crimes.
but explain what the crimes were.
Sure.
Because I've had this conversation with several guys in the podcast.
Don't have it with a fucking Republican because they don't even know what.
Well, no, with Democrats.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm just like, I just don't get it. Like,
Okay.
they basically broke down one thing that he did in 36 different crimes.
So they're all different. So
Okay.
let's talk about the one in Florida. That was the classified documents, right?
I'm just talking about the paying the lady off. That's the one
with the Stormy Daniels thing.
Yeah, because then they break that one down to like
That's
36 different
that's the
payments.
least consequential one.
Okay.
Yeah, he basically misreported the payments he made. I think he put down his campaign finance and it wasn't or something. That one, I'm not even worried about that one. The more pressing ones is the classified documents one.
What is that?
That was in Florida. That was state charges, I believe. So when he left the presidency, he took a bunch of classified intel,
Which is weird.
which is weird, and some of it had the highest security clearance you could possibly have, where not even the president can take it home. Like,
Do we know what the intel was?
dude, I'm getting to it.
Okay.
So that's why this is a big fucking deal. And Republicans don't even fucking know. They think it's fake, whatever. So he took stuff to Mar-a-Lago. When they raided to find it, to recover it, he had it sitting in fucking boxes in a ballroom and in his bathroom. And a few weeks prior, he had ultranational, what are they called, dude? He had people from like Saudi Arabia. Some of them were linked to the intelligence community. So he had people who could have just been walking around his property.
Right.
Oh, here's the fucking US nuclear codes. You know what I mean? That's not even the bad part.
Was that what it was?
We don't really know. Some of it was.
Surely not.
Some of it was stuff that is only a classification for security related stuff, meaning like it could have been stuff like that. It could have been stuff about our allies. So when the.
But I mean, saying that it's like a.
Dude, wait, listen how bad it gets.
Okay.
So the White House archives, they're who the president checks in. So if I'm Biden, I'm now leaving. It's January 20th. Maybe there's stuff I want to keep, hold on to. I have to get it approved by the archives. Okay. Trump didn't do that. He didn't do the process. He later would say, as his defense, he mentally cleared it in his mind because he's the president. That's not a real thing. So he took all this stuff back to Mar-a-Lago, was not in what's called a classified security. It's an acronym that stands for basically things of this nature have to be in like behind like multiple barriers of you cannot access it, even if you take it home.
But like, are we sure that he did it though? Because do you think he actually moves boxes?
I think he did it because
I'm a billionaire. I hire someone to do everything. I'm not moving.
This is why I think he did it. So after he had taken it home, and after the Saudi Arabian nationals or whatever came over, his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, received a $2 billion payout from Saudi Arabia, from a Saudi Arabian prince. What is that about?
What was that about?
Did he sell them the shit?
Can we not see what that money's for? Is that not a way to do that?
No. And it's been so long, dude. This happened 2 years ago or so when I was following that, when that story was breaking. So I don't remember. There's nuance to it to where we couldn't break down. You know how rich people do shit. Things are behind.
That's why it's crazy that this guy had a fucking box of Secret Service or documents in his bathroom.
Yes.
Like that. I can't even fathom that.
Yes. And so
if a billionaire has so many different shell companies that he's hiding money in, why would you have a box of these documents just in your bathroom?
It's a good fucking question, dude.
It doesn't make sense, does it?
I don't think it makes sense. I don't think a lot of the shit that he does makes sense.
So do you think it could have just been a plant?
No. I
mean, we know that people do that all the time.
But okay, you got to break that down. What would they gain from planting high security clearance materials?
Well, they would take an intelligent guy like you and give you reason to get on the podcast and talk about it.
So think about this, dude. When the FBI reached out to him, well, it was the archives first. They said, Mr. Trump, Mr. President, can you please return those? And he said, no. They said again, can you please return them? He said, no, they're mine. And they're like, well, they're actually not. You didn't clear that they're yours. So then the FBI went to go raid his house.
Mm-hmm.
When they kicked in the door, raided his house, they found everything. Later, during discovery or whatever, they found out he had a fucking basically like a pool boy. He ordered him to like flush the servers because he had stuff uploaded. He basically ordered the guy who works on the grounds to get rid of all of it. You don't do that if you're not up to something.
It's also a weird thing to have your pool
Very
boy
weird.
Destroy servers.
Very weird. And so then the Fox News thing was, well, Biden and Mike Pence, they had documents too. So the difference is when all this happened with Trump, Mike Pence and Biden both went to the archives and said, hey, we might have stuff we accidentally took. We don't want to get in trouble. Can you come search our house and find it. And they did. So Biden and Mike Pence allowed the proper bodies to come. They found shit in Joe Biden's garage. None of it was high clearance shit. It was like regular, just bullshit papers he might have accidentally taken. Same with Mike Pence.
But dude, this is a great argument for Doge. The simple fact that we have fucking idiots taking classified documents out of where they should be, out of the archives.
Sure.
Like, that's a problem.
But the idiot who did it started Doge.
It was all three of them.
Well,
So basically all the leaders are taking these documents. I mean, we need better leadership.
Joe Biden and Mike Pence, they forgot they even had the documents. Trump knew he had them.
Okay.
And was doing something with them. Around the same time, there was all these assets. That's what we call spies, CIA assets, who either went missing or reported killed in action overseas. All kind of instantaneous and around the same time. Never hear about it on Fox News. It was reported internationally. This is why people are like, oh, liberals, y'all are so fucking angry. It's because not to say our news network isn't misleading. I don't watch CNN. I don't watch any of that bullshit. I follow independent stuff like Associated Press or like international news or Reddit, like a conglomeration of things. Long story short, we hear about this shit, but you can't even talk to the other side about it because they're not getting it reported.
Right.
Like your Republican friends, I bet if they hear this or watch this, they're like, what the fuck is he talking about?
Yeah,
but this is all well-documented stuff that is happening. Your media is intentionally not reporting it. You should ask why. But
do you think you have, do you think there's a media for you too?
Definitely.
So you think that their media is reporting on things that you're not getting?
I don't know, man.
I think it works both ways, right?
It probably does, but what would those things be? Today a Christian man saved a dog. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's easy to make light of it, but at the same time, there's probably things that they know that you don't, or there's things like
that they
the earth
believe.
is flat. The earth is flat, and
well, no, there's things that they believe that you don't. Once again, that's making light of it.
I know. Yeah. I know. And it is me being kind of like funny right now, but like it really comes down to when you go back to my original argument, which again, I'll die on this hill. I think the whole conservative myth is a way for the owner class to get consensus and to pass things they want. They do it through identity politics. They do it through religiosity. They do it through culture wars. So Fox News, by the way, is an entertainment station. It's not a news station. When they were sued by Dominion, which is the company who makes the voting machines from the 2020 election, sued Fox for libel for saying it was stolen. In court, which Fox lost, they had to pay out $700, was it million or billion? Who's counting? Their defense was no sensible person would believe anything we report because we are entertainment, not news. That's a fact. That's in the court. That's literally like in black and white in the whatever they call it. That was their defense, is we're not really news. This is entertainment. Go back to how Fox News was founded. And I want anybody listening to fact check me on this. Like, please try to check me on this shit. Fox News was founded after Watergate because the Republicans, they thought if we had a way to control the narrative, Nixon wouldn't have had to resign. We could have like told our viewers that Democrats made it all up or it was all fake or it's fake news. Fox News started because of Watergate as a way to insulate Republican consensus and control the narrative. And
were all the news companies started this way?
No, they're all started in various ways, but that's how Fox started.
Yeah.
Rupert Murdoch is the guy's name. He literally was like, we're never going to win again unless we can control the narrative, because if the arm of your party is to get consensus for the owner class through misinformation and propaganda, you can't possibly control that long term against truth unless you have a media platform, AM talk radio, Rush Limbaugh. Let's tap into the evangelicals. Let's tap into the racist. Like, when you look at the MAGA movement, it's a bunch of people who don't know what the fuck is going on. They don't know how things work, and it's fear driven, and they're voting against their own self-interest. They're voting away their retirement age, their Social Security, their Medicaid, their First Amendment, right? Soon you won't be able to fucking say fuck Trump or someone's going to come knocking at your door. You know what I mean? I
mean, that's the way it is in Britain right now, right?
I think Brexit was kind of like a proto MAGA. Like, it was rooted in racism and isolationism. And I know I'm fucking this whole thing up.
There you go. I think that's it. The core was just too tight. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I would love to debate some of
Well,
your
no, so
conservative friends too.
that's a real problem that we have right now is if the majority, because like we know the majority voted for Trump, right?
Allegedly.
Okay.
Well, not the majority in the country, right?
Well, the popular vote, right?
The popular vote, yes.
That's not the majority.
And actually, it was a what we call a plurality. So it wasn't the majority; it was a plurality.
What does that mean?
A plurality means no cohort crossed 50%.
Okay.
So I think it was like what 47% voted for Kamala, 48% voted for Trump.
Okay.
So he had a plurality. And look, I'm not going to use this podcast for anything that's not objective. I really would go into why I think this election was kind of fucky, and I think that there was some hijinks afoot. I'm not going to get into that though here.
Why not?
Because I want to keep it data driven. We don't really have the data for that. I just think it's weird how he was saying things like you'll never need to vote again, and I think it's weird that Musk said he had an app that showed how Trump won 4 hours before. I think it's weird that Russia was calling in bomb threats in blue cities.
Yeah, I didn't hear any of this.
Really?
Yeah.
Again, you can hop on Google later. In Philadelphia.
Do you still Google things, or do you don't use AI for stuff?
I just use Google, man. I could use AI, but
Old fart.
I'm just old, dude. No, I'm a little behind on most things, man. I don't have the fucking TikTok. I don't
do the TikTok either.
There's a lot of shit. I'm
But
like,
I do use AI over Google because I think Google has paid results.
I know you're a big fan of AI. Yeah,
Huge fan of it.
Yeah, I got to get more into it, man.
Even just chatting with it, like it was a little bit where I was kind of bummed out on podcasts because I was having such good conversations with AI.
It's
crazy, man.
That's cool.
Yeah, I want to actually set up a podcast where I have it chatting on here with me.
With an AI.
Yeah,
that'd be sick. That'd be sick. But no, I think something weird happened in this election. But
yeah, what do you think? I mean, like, why? Why do you think there was weirdness? I just think that people are fed up with the way things are going.
But again, so two things. One, the way they think things are going, they may be uninformed, right?
I mean, I think you can walk outside and look around. Like I said, yes, this is everything's going great, but I mean,
they don't know who to blame. They don't know who to blame, right? They don't know.
Well, they know who to blame. I mean, but they don't see that there's anything they can do about it.
Gotcha.
And this is a lot of people I've talked to. They're like, yeah, the government's the problem. Because like you should be having people that are designing programs to get these homeless people off the street, to do stuff like this. But nothing's changing.
Well, who blocks it? Who blocks all that stuff in Congress? We can do this again. When Congress is voting on, let's say, giving more funding for homeless programs.
So Congress is the problem.
Well, one side of Congress is the problem.
I would say both sides. If they're not working together to actually do something good for the human race.
I agree. So we call the Republican Party, if you're a liberal or progressive, we call them the opposition party. And what we mean by that is anytime there's something that goes to the House of the People, Congress, to vote on something that would advance, just use a broad term, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, Republicans vote it down. They vote against something that would make the homeless have a more robust way of getting out of homelessness. They would vote against expansions to healthcare and education. They would vote against expansions to voting rights.
And you're saying they're doing this just simply because the Democrats proposed it?
Somewhat. Yeah, they're the opposition party. Their constituents are counting on them to advance their interest. But here's the thing. If your constituents, their entire interests were gained through manufactured consent, I think you see where I'm going with it. People don't even know what they're voting for or why. They don't know who's actually responsible. They don't know what's happening. And that's why I say to be liberal is to be like objective. It's to be rooted in, it's to look at data and be like, yeah, that's very obvious. Like what that motive is right there.
But even the data can be manipulated. Why don't you just walk outside and look at the homeless people?
Sure. Yeah, sure. It absolutely could be. There was this thought experiment I did with someone the other day. If you take things that are black and white, you can cut through the noise easily. So for instance, right now, something Republicans and Democrats are split on is maybe there is a constitutional crisis, but who's at fault? Are the federal judges trying to stop Trump? Are they out of line, or is Trump out of line? So you can look at it black and white, which is we take away all the meaning and we just say there are federal judges trying to block Trump from passing things. So we can understand that's a fact. Next, we need to understand, is it their power to do that? So then we just look at the black and white text of the Constitution and we see, in fact, federal judges hold power over stopping things that are unconstitutional. So we conclude, yeah, factually, the judges have every right to stop those things. So what that leaves us with is the things he's trying to do, are they unconstitutional? So then we would look at like the 14th Amendment and be like, oh yeah, it is. Or we would look at how he's using Elon Musk to control the purse strings. So when you break things down to black and white and tune out what people tell you they mean, you can kind of conclude, oh yeah, the fact of the matter is the federal judges are in the right. And so why is there one part of the media trying to tell me that Trump is in the right? That should give me pause. That should make me question, why would they want that? And you can kind of apply that logic with everything, and you're going to end up on the liberal end every time. There's a golden thread through the history of this country. In every conflict, liberals are on the correct side. We can look at the civil rights movement, look at the Civil War, the Gilded Age, women in franchisement and voting, even the Revolutionary War. It was liberals who had studied these like European philosophers who were like, fuck this, that we don't want a monarchy to tax us without representation. Fuck that, you know? So when you look at the golden thread of history, you can conclude, I think John Locke called it the mass, which is a word for like the public, the people, the common man, are on the right side every time. And so if you're the bad guys, you're the oligarchs, the billionaires, whatever the fuck, the Trumps of the world, you're going to find a way to manufacture consent from the mass, and villainize the other side. And so I'll take being the villain every time. If it's to be pro democracy, pro civil rights, pro expansion of our well-being.
I just think that we sit here and argue over bullshit when all we have to do is solve the problems.
How would you solve some of these problems?
I'm just saying, like the homeless issue.
Right.
Empty house, put them in it. Boom.
Right. But then you have your buddy being like, well, it's not that simple. So what do we do with the people who tell us it's not that simple?
But it is that simple. That's what I was telling him the other night. I said, we're just inflating these problems into a point where they look like they're impossible to solve.
I agree.
Yeah. So, I mean, him in general, like he's probably, his whole life has been revolved, because he's in his 50s, like late 50s. Mm-hmm. His whole life has been revolved around, well, there's a politician, they'll figure it out. Or there's someone else doing this. There's a group that's designed to do this. And it's like, but if you pay this group, $250,000 a year to do this, what incentive does that give them to solve a problem?
Yeah. How do you know they're solving that problem?
Yeah. And if you just walk outside and you still see homeless people, you're like, well, they're doing something wrong. So we have the wrong people in the wrong positions.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. If I had a solution for it, I wouldn't be running a bar.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Do you think it's going to come to violence if we really head full authoritarian? They're knocking on doors, rounding up people who are not subscribing to the MAGA, whatever fucking messaging and reality. Do you think it's going to come down to violence?
I don't think it's going to come to that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't say, and I'm not saying I don't think it's going to come to violence. I don't think it's going to come to them knocking on doors. I never see that happening.
They're already purging liberal and left-leaning social media accounts. If you post or share a lot of things that are left-leaning, they're purging your account and saying that it's under investigation due to whatever community standards.
That's what they're doing in like Britain right now. They're arresting you for saying stuff like that in Britain right now, right?
I don't know. I'm out of the loop on the.
Yeah, I want to say that they're like really arresting people for speaking out on social media. I don't know. I don't see this purge happening. Mm-hmm. And I follow a lot of liberal accounts on the Another Bar page, not on my personal page. It's mostly science stuff on my personal page. Cool. But on the other side, it's a lot of liberal stuff, just because the bar is a very liberal space.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I haven't seen any of the purge, so that could just be some propaganda you're getting. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah, that was word of mouth stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all susceptible to propaganda.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? We really are. Dude, I worry about it.
So you think it's going to come to violence? Because I heard you say earlier, if you're a liberal, get a gun.
Get a gun.
Use it.
Yeah, I'll say it again. If you're liberal, if you're left leaning, if you are LGBT plus, if you're any sort of marginalized group, get at least one firearm. Learn how to use it.
That's a hot take, bro.
No, it's a real take. Yeah. I mean, if we study history, we can see the writing on the wall. Unless this stops. So where we are right now, unless it's suddenly like today or tomorrow, like Trump is like, you know what? Yeah, I will listen to the judges. I just see it getting worse, dude. They want what they want. They when he said he wanted to make government like a business, he meant it.
It is a business.
I think of a corporate org chart, but I mean in the sense of like
he wants to make it profitable again.
maximize profitability to you, while minimizing your workers' way out and their way to advance wages, because that takes money out of your pocket, their way to vote their way out of that. I think it's pretty clear what's going on. He got the owner class. They are in power. They're holding the reins of government, and they're cutting everyone out who could possibly stop them. It's about to be a one state thing. You can see it happening.
But I'm just saying this has always been a business. It just hasn't been a profitable business. And that's how you have the collapse of civilizations is when the business is not profitable and the money inflates to a point where people can't buy anything anymore. Then you have the collapse. I think right now they're trying to save a country from collapsing.
But I disagree, because if I'm a billionaire, I want it to collapse, because then I can swoop in and buy up all the bargain bin assets. I can buy up all the housing. I can buy up all the fucking...
So you think what they're doing is going to cause the collapse?
Yeah. So recessions and depressions benefit the rich. They love them.
Yeah, because they're buying assets. That's how they get their money.
Yeah. Gutting the government benefits the rich, especially if my friends are now in charge of the regulatory state, what laws are passed. We're looking at something really serious here. And that's why, people will say stuff like, oh, we'll just focus on the present, enjoy. I'm like, yeah, I mean, we can. I don't know how much longer we have, though, until shit gets really weird.
But I mean, even if like liberals buy guns, like I love guns.
Yeah.
I'm for everyone having guns, learn how to use them. I think you all should have one for personal protection.
Yep. And then one for the home.
And one for the home too. Yeah.
Shotgun and a pistol, or get a rifle.
Yeah, no, I think it's necessary, especially living in a city like we live in here. It's a dangerous city, and Baton Rouge is the same way.
Yeah, Baton Rouge is bad.
So yeah, I think everyone should have one, but I don't think we're at a point now where you should be worrying about the government coming to throw you out. I think it's a hot take.
I don't think it's going to be the government even. I think it's going to be like the public. There's MAGA people who get off to bullying others. Imagine if you
have seen some of that.
Imagine if you weaponized them. Imagine if you gave them free pass, free agency to then go bully people, because you're not going to get in trouble for it. Like the people that would prosecute you or arrest you, they're us, dude. Go bully them. We've seen this. There's so many instances in history. That's another thing too. If you were to take Germany in the 1930s and America right now, find the differences.
Oh, no, I see the similarities.
Not even the similarities. Find the differences.
Yeah, I'm a huge...
it starts with the people, dude. It's going to be the right-wing conservative voters are going to... They feel angry and justified because...
So you think they're going to turn against the Jewish folks, huh?
Not Jewish. I mean, not any particular folk, but just anyone who's other, right? Like, I'm liberal, so I'm interfering with your freedom somehow, right? Like, me existing and having these views is treading on you, and so you need to now do something about it because Trump's going to tell you that. I think that's where it's going to go first.
It's interesting you say that, because most of the Republican people that I know are nonviolent.
Right.
Like, they go hunting and stuff, but like, they don't want to actually hurt anyone. They want the wars to stop.
Right.
So that's why I just don't see. I mean, there are the extremes, obviously, because there's still the KKK still around and shit like that, which is fucking weird. But yeah, I think these extremes, they still live on. And I think that right now they're getting braver because... Why
is that?
Well, it's what I'm saying. They're getting braver because of
the fucking president is giving you a green light.
Well, they're getting braver because the system's changing.
Yeah.
But I don't think that they're gonna be able to sway the masses.
I don't know, man. I look at January 6th, I'm
a fan of January 6th.
That's cool. I can appreciate that.
I think they should have took some of them out. Dude, I fucking hate Congress. They're the worst.
I like the concept of Congress. Everything.
The concept's great.
Yeah, we have the right to do this right now because of Congress passing a bill that
the concept is great, but I think that with any system, if you don't evolve the system, viruses get in. And I think that's what we have in Congress right now is a bunch of viruses.
You know why?
I don't think that those people should be ancient and in Congress. I think we should have young blood in there.
I agree.
That are moving the world forward.
I agree. And most of the young Congress people are Democrat. They have more young, their age is younger on average. But the virus comes from things like Citizens United, right? From where there is no cap on how much money these big corporate interests can spend and lobbying, get their people into Congress, right? I mean, you have straight up Nazis right now in Congress. Like, you have straight up members of Congress who are A-okay with like people like the KKK marching and protesting and shit.
Who?
I mean, I don't know names off the top of my head. So, I mean, I know I got clapped right there, but seriously, you can look it up. There's people there's members of the Republican majority in Congress
Well, they're
who are silent on,
so they're okay with people speaking their mind, which is kind of the freedom of speech, right?
Hate speech is not protected by the First Amendment. Freedom of speech does not include hate
That's
speech.
not freedom then.
Why would you want it? Think about
Why
it.
wouldn't you want it?
Why would you want hate speech?
I want you to be able to say whatever you want to say, and then for me to be strong enough to what is the old time saying? I'm rubber, you're glue. Whatever you say bounces off me and sticks to you.
Right, but what if
people aren't strong enough to hear your words these days and go, that doesn't affect me at all.
How can you be strong enough? Okay, if you're a black person and someone calls you the N-word.
Well, yeah. So I'm not a black person.
How can you be strong enough to be
here's
okay
the
with
argument they'll say is since I'm not a black person, I don't understand.
That's true though.
But you can literally say anything you want to me, and I don't give a shit.
Right. And that's you.
Yeah, and everyone should be that.
Imagine if there was a word. Just imagine there was a word that just took you out.
But there shouldn't be.
And you had no defense.
And the reason there shouldn't be is because you should be strong enough to know that the person saying that word is fucking ignorant.
But what about people who are weak? Should they still be protected in society?
No, they should develop the immunity of bad words.
What if they can't? What if that's not how reality works?
That is how reality works. We just have
people have varying levels of resiliency.
We have a world where we've taught people that these words are bad and they should get angry when they hear them.
I fundamentally disagree. I just don't think we should protect hate speech where there's a word that has a cruel and a disgusting origin, and we can co-sign people in power being able to say that to other people. I with them having no defense, like unless they have to like beat your ass or kill you, and now they're in trouble. Like,
so how do you feel about like Instagram comments and stuff?
What you mean?
Oh my God, bro. Have you ever been on Instagram and saw the comment section?
Well, I mean, I ignore all that shit, dude.
Well, dude, this is like, that's freedom in my opinion, because they say some of the craziest shit on Instagram. And I think Twitter's the same way too, right?
Probably.
Yeah. So, I mean, I love that, but that's where people are expressing their true opinions on things.
See, that's fine. I think if it's hurtful, if it's hate speech, if it's discriminatory, it shouldn't be protected.
But it's only hurtful if you let it hurt you.
It's not a free society if I have to live in fear of someone calling me a racial slur. Like, it just isn't. That's not a free society.
What is a racial slur to you?
Well, I'm white, so
there's none.
I
right?
have the privilege of that not applying to me. But that makes it even more so important for me to recognize that there are realities I can't comprehend because I'm not in those shoes. And we're stronger and more privileged as a society overall when I can respect other people's status in that way. I can't comprehend being called a word and it just taking me out like that and being re-traumatizing. But there are people who are. And so the strongest position I have as a straight white dude is to protect them, you know?
Not help them grow?
I don't think it helps someone grow by breaking them down, you know? They can grow from it.
I think that's how you grow. Think about how you grow muscles.
Right?
You go to the gym, you break them down, they grow.
Right? That's muscles, though.
That's everything, though. That's how life works. Whenever you go burn a field, you break the stuff down and you grow new crops on it. Yeah,
but advocating for like hate speech, I just can't agree with.
Yeah, but we're talking about growing people.
I disagree, man. I don't think that's the right. I think I get where your head is at, and I think it's a well-intentioned place. Like, yes, we should challenge people and push them to grow.
Absolutely.
I can get down with, but like, I'll never be like telling the black person like you deserve to be called that.
But even hate speech is a trigger word. So I think that the fact that we're
to who's it a trigger word to?
To everyone. When you're saying that, you're laughing about it because you know that the listener is going to hear hate speech and they're not going to hear what I'm saying. They're going to immediately go, this guy's talking about saying the N-word to black people. So I know it's about growing mentally and being strong enough to understand that when a word hits you, you don't have to listen to it.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's a different thing. I mean, I've told clients that in the past when I was counseling, like, yeah, you don't have to receive someone else's energy. At the same time, why promote, if we are a place that's about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness and city on the hill, why can't we be better? Why can't we be stronger to promote an environment where everyone feels safe, where everybody feels like cared for? You know what I mean?
I agree with that. But I think a lot of times whenever we say this is a bad word and it's off limits, people want to use it more because they know that this is a way I can trigger you.
Or because they can get away with it. And so that actually presents a more interesting philosophical debate, which is how far do you have to go against liberty to protect liberty? In other words, if we were to aggressively enforce not using those words, are we now hypocrites? Right? So I think that, and I think that's maybe where you're coming from too. Like that's the interesting thing right there is like.
So how do you feel about that then? Because that's
a tough one, dude. How far do we go? Like, so I'm obviously progressive, said it a million times. If I want this democratically socialist community where also laissez-faire capitalism coexist, because it can, am I going to say that if you say the N-word, you should get the shit beat out of you and thrown into a gulag? I don't know. It's
a tough one.
It's a tough one, dude. Maybe. And maybe that's where we differ is I lean more that way.
Yeah.
Like I lean more of the way where there's the person who is, just all cavalier and is able to say the N-word confidently, knowing nothing will happen to them. I think I lean more of the way where in my society, it's come back over here. You're fucked.
Well,
like,
and this makes it sound like I just walk around throwing these words out. Like
I'm not. No. I understand you. I understand you, and I don't think your listeners are gonna think. I know. Yeah, I know where you're coming from with it.
Well, it's also it branches off from just words to ideas.
Yeah.
So like you have to be able to express your ideas, and if you have certain words that you can't say, then you're not able to freely express your ideas.
But why do you need to use hate speech to express an idea? What if the idea was?
I think it's just it's the beginning of it.
Okay.
Like when you start cutting out words, was it 1984 they did this?
Yeah.
Where when you couldn't say the words anymore, then you couldn't think the thoughts.
Oh, so yeah, like when the Associated Press said the Gulf of Mexico and Trump said you're now banned from the Oval Office.
So calling it the Gulf of America, like I get it. That's like a prideful thing, right?
Yeah.
That's why he's like doing this because he's trying to build the pride back in America.
I guess. I don't see it that way either.
What do you think it is?
He wants to dominate. It's dominance and it's fuck you. I'm owning the libs because he knows that liberals are educated people and we're going to be like, that is disgusting and
just changing the name,
unnecessary and imperialistic.
But isn't that what a lot of liberals do? They change their name and their gender.
So that's different. If you change your gender, that's probably due to gender dysphoria, which means from the time you were born, you probably already saw yourself as not the gender, not the biological sex you're in, right? That's well documented. So when they transition, that's not like they're spontaneously transitioning. They're actually coming more in line with how they feel.
Yeah. So we own the Gulf of. It's always been ours.
No, it's international.
It's always been ours.
You're doing the Trump thing, dude.
I don't know. Like it doesn't matter to me what we call anything.
Yeah.
That's my thing is like, It's just a piece of fucking water. It's a piece of land. Like who cares? This whole, even like labeling Democrat, Republic, we should just be Americans.
Mm-hmm.
Like this whole like duality thing. No, we got to come together and do this together. So like even us like giving anything a label, even the conservatism label, all these labels, they're just labels. And whenever you hear a label, you think of something totally different than when my Republican friend hears a label.
Yep.
So these are all just like programmed inside of us and this is where the trigger word comes in. Because like when you hear a word, it's something totally different than when I hear a word.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to like agree to come together and do this as a whole society.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate goal.
I agree. For that to happen though, we need to agree to what reality is. And right now, I think the country is living in two different realities.
I agree.
There's like two alternate like filters placed over this physical place we're in, but someone is going to see it different than I am.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So who's right? How do you get to that?
Objectivity. So truth is not subjective, right? And it all goes back to that. If you follow objectivity, you're going to land leaning liberal. Conservatives hate hearing that shit when we say liberal reality has a liberal bias. It just does, dude. We're human.
You want to help your fellow man.
You want to help your fellow man. You want better for yourself. And there's people who are going to try to hold you down and oppress you. And so you band together through the mass or the mob. I said the mass earlier. He called it the mob.
Okay. Which that's a In my opinion, that's a more derogatory word, right?
It is. And even the founding fathers feared the mob. And that's why they chose a democratic republic rather than just a pure democracy. Because even the founding fathers were like, the common people could totally just overthrow us. And
Yeah.
so
Let the mob think they have power.
yes. And let's create a
Internal structure.
yes.
Yeah.
Which is funny because even the other countries that we've like kind of helped reset, we've put different forms of government over them.
Yeah.
Like the Philippines, I don't know, different places in Central and South America, like we've given them different forms. It's almost as if we know our system is fucked.
Mhm.
I don't remember how we got on that tangent. Oh yeah, 2 different realities. Yeah, the manufactured consent thing, dude. Yeah, how are we doing on
12:30.
okay.
Yeah.
What time are we pushing to today?
We can do 12:45, so about 15 more minutes. So
Cool.
we'll start wrapping it up because Mo's going to be here at 1.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to if you want to do a debate on here, I would love to debate.
I gotta find the right person, man.
Find someone who thinks I want someone who is conservative but informed.
Yeah, that's what I gotta find.
You know what I mean? Because that is such an abstract.
Well, like I know you now, right? So
Yeah.
I got to find someone that I know is compatible with you in a conversational sense,
Right.
Because a lot of the guys that I hang out with,
They'll shut down and storm off.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
what it is.
That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
So finding an informed Republican is like a needle in a haystack because what that is they're informed,
hmm
but still choosing to vote or caucus that way anyway, which is a weird thing.
hmm
Very hard to find.
when someone that is willing to come on a podcast too, because a lot of the Republicans I know have a lot of money,
Right.
and that's why they vote that way.
Which is interesting. What is a lot of money to them?
Millions, own property.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about the dude who works at the plant and he thinks he has a lot of money. But
No, the guys who own the
he
plant.
makes like $70K. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole different story. I would love to debate those people though. If you bring somebody on here, like, look, I got buddies with net worth in the millions.
Do you have someone you would like to debate? Because if you have someone like that,
I already, the people I would know like that, I already do. Like through phone or, I'm already debating with them.
so you don't want to relive the conversation on a podcast.
Yeah, I want someone that where really the listeners can be like, oh, I want to really hear how this goes. Like 2 people who think they're equally informed, what comes out in the wash.
I'll keep a lookout.
Yeah, and if somebody's hearing this and wants to throw your name in, I'm pretty convicted on where I stand. You can just view the scope of history. You can view objectivity. You can view.
Yeah, reach out to me on Instagram or through this platform, and we'll get him someone on here. I think it'd be lovely.
Absolutely.
So yeah, what would you like to say is to wrap it up? We'll start wrapping this one up. Final thoughts.
Man, people need to vote. Like, there's this quote. I can't remember who it's attributed to, but it says, "You might not take interest in politics, but politics takes interest in you." Everything we're able to do. Like the fact we're able to congregate like this, the fact that we have the ability to have roads, that thank God we're taxed actually, that we can even have roads and have firefighters. Anyway, everybody should care about voting, should care about being informed. Do not stick to one news source, diversify, listen to both sides, and really try and get a firm grasp on what I mean when I say like objectivity. Like back in 2017, during Trump's first administration, they started using this term alternative facts.
Mm-hmm.
There is no such thing as an alternative fact. Facts are binary. The sky is blue or it isn't. Federal judges have the power to block a president from making unlawful orders, or they don't. Like, there is only one side to truth. And I want to encourage everyone to just learn how to critically think and identify how to figure out what the truth is. Even if you had 20 different news stations giving you 20 versions of a story, have the ability to generate insight.
But can you give them a way to do this? Because that's a big statement to figure out how to do it. Like, how do we figure out how to do this?
It's fucking tough, dude. That would be like a whole other episode because I'd have to explain how I arrived here. Because for people who don't know, I was Republican. I was raised Republican. I thought Democrats were evil. I thought Obama was bringing socialism to the country when he was actually a moderate conservative. How did I do it? I almost want to say first understanding science got me here, if that makes any sense. Like understanding how facts work led me to then looking at things happening in the world around me and understanding, oh, there's only one objective side. One of the sides is wrong. One of the sides is lying, or both sides are lying, and there is some truth outside of them.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, I think Democrats also gain manufactured consent, right? They'll say that they're going to eliminate student loans. They don't actually do it. But when you look at what each side is gaining manufactured consent on, I'm going to go with the side that isn't like trampling on people's rights, you know? And no, giving trans people like the right to exist is not trampling on your right. If you're out there and you think because you're Christian and there's people who aren't Christian that they're somehow trampling on your rights and you need to force them to abide by your own personal religious doctrine, I think that's fucked up. I think you're a piece of shit. Honestly, I think that's fucking evil.
It's weird.
It's weird. Yeah. Like you think God is real. That's awesome. Congrats. That's your private belief. Like other people don't need to think that. And you don't need to force them to. Anyway, final thoughts is that it's, I want to encourage people to get involved with politics, be informed, and, be objective, like learn how to critically think and arrive at the truth through looking at data. And I guess that's it. And
wise words, my friend.
Yeah.
Alex, I have thoroughly enjoyed the conversation today. And I look forward to many more, man.
Yeah, I like it, dude. And I like how you're able to also kick back some of the things I'm saying and we can really dive into them. It's super cool.
Great conversation, man. Thank you, brother.
All right, man.